I can distinctly remember what it feels like to pray and you just feel like you're talking to yourself, when you feel like you're saying words but you're just going through the motions, where you're sitting there praying and you're trying to pray directly from your heart, but then you're just getting like this rush of thoughts through your brain of like, bro, what am I doing, bro? He's not even hearing me. What am I doing? I'm wasting my time. Or your thoughts even start drifting into like food, what you're about to eat, or the things that you need to complete today, or the schoolwork that you didn't do yet. Like, I get it. And I want to offer you like a little piece of advice that really did help me start to get into the presence of God more when I prayed. And it also allowed me to start hearing from God more. Not like audibly hearing from God, but hearing from God more, right? In the spirit. And honestly, it's one of the coolest things. I've had these experiences where like I'm sitting there in prayer after just reading the word and I'm asking God some questions. I'm sitting and I'm listening, and all of a sudden he'll give me a verse that I've never even read before. I haven't read in 8 months, that I had no idea what it says. And I scroll to it and it answers the question that I just had. Like crazy experiences like that. So I want to help you out a little bit. John chapter 4 is Jesus's conversation with the woman at the well. Now all of the disciples go into town for food, and so Jesus is sitting at this well and he's waiting for this woman to show up. And when she shows up, he starts asking her for a drink of water. And so because he's Jewish and she's Samaritan, they start like going back and forth about that a little bit. And Jesus wants to reveal who he is slightly to her. So he begins to basically prophesize about her life, or tell her about her life, and they've never even met before. He starts telling her about how she's had like 4 or 5 husbands, and now she's living with a new man that ain't even her husband. Like stuff that there's no way Jesus could have known unless he was like divine, right? And so finally she starts to put 2 and 2 together and starts to realize that, hey, look, you might be the Messiah that we've heard about. And while there's so much in John chapter 4 and I could spend so much time talking about it, the thing that I really wanted to touch on is Jesus talks about like the true worshipers, the true followers of Christ, of God, are the ones who worship in spirit and truth. What does that actually mean, to worship in spirit and truth? Especially if you go to an AMP translation of the Bible, it'll show you this a little bit more. But worshiping in spirit is worshiping with a genuineness to it. It's worshiping from the heart. It's heart open, heartfelt, deep spiritual, heartfelt desire to follow God. And that doesn't just mean, oh, I need to do it with more emotion. That's not really what I'm saying. Just because you talk to God with more emotion does not mean that God is going to hear you more. It's like when I would relapse and fall into some type of lust, right? And I would try and beat myself up over and over again just to try and like get the attention of God, right? You try and get like this emotional pull with God. I don't know why we do that. Actually, I do, but that's a different story. Different video. Maybe I'll make it one day. I think a better way to describe it is like, you're truly infatuated. You truly just want God. It's like Psalms 91 talks about going to the secret place, right? To spend time with the Lord. It's like you want to be with the Lord so much. You want to hear from him so much. You want to please him so much. You want to be an obedient follower of Christ so much that you're not even time sensitive, right? You know, sometimes we sit down to pray. Oh man, I can only pray for about 5 minutes and I gotta go. Oh man, I'm kind of hungry right now. Do I really need to pray? Oh, I haven't really heard anything and it's been about 3 or 4 minutes. I think I'm gonna wrap up this prayer now. That's time sensitive, right? And if you're time sensitive when you pray, you can't be spirit sensitive when you pray. And I think it's really just a heartfelt desire to want to know and grow with God. And then to worship in truth is actually to worship in your actions. It's obedience. It's being a doer of the word. And the reason I bring this up and all this John 4 stuff up is because I think one of the things that's really helped me step into the presence of God more is when these two kind of intersect in a sense. Because you'll read about it in Psalms or Romans or Proverbs, or I think it's even in Corinthians, about having thanksgiving, coming to the Lord with thanksgiving, with cheerfulness, with joy, right? I believe that's one of the things in Philippians Paul writes about extensively, is having joy in the Lord, which is really crazy because Paul wrote Philippians while he was in prison. What started to help me, this is the thing that's helped me get into the presence of God like 10 times more often. It's helped me hear from God more. It's helped me understand more when I when I read the word, which is really just the Holy Spirit, you know, teaching me. It's the thing that's caused me to start praying in tongues a lot more. It's gratitude. It's open, honest, genuine gratitude. And I don't think it necessarily really comes from here. I think it comes from here. To even sink into the spirit, slip into the spirit, as people at my church would call it, right? When you get into the presence of God, if you've had it, you know what I'm talking about. That peace, that like water that feels like it's washing over you, that presence, you know what I'm talking about. This has to shut off. You have to stop listening here and you have to tune in here, and you have to be sensitive to the spirit. This is why I was talking about not being time sensitive, because when you're time sensitive, you can't be spirit sensitive. And what I've started to notice is when I become spirit sensitive and I turn this off and I just speak from here, I start to think about all the things that God has done for me, big and small. The things when he's helping me grow my business, to keeping me healthy, to the things that we naturally overlook, right? Like, you know how to open your eyes, but you don't know how to wake up. You know how to listen to somebody, but you don't know how to make yourself hear. But we naturally take that stuff for granted. And what I started to find is the more I just began to speak genuinely from the heart, giving gratitude, thanks to God, it's like something about it just slips you into that spirit, slips you closer to God in the spirit realm. I don't know if this makes sense. It's like gratitude almost feels like a foundation block to growing and stepping into that presence. And what I found is, see, the more you turn off this and you listen here, the Holy Spirit will even tell you the type of way to lead with the gratitude, right? Because the gratitude doesn't just have to be, God, thank you so much for this, right? When you're just praying, that could also be worship. That could also be if you've been walking spiritually for a while and you know about how to pray in tongues and such, which all believers have that ability. It could be the Holy Spirit like telling you to reach out in a little bit of faith and begin to speak in a tongue. Like there's tons of different ways that it could actually happen. But I think gratitude, maybe not a master key, but I think it's something that will really revolutionize your relationship with God. Christ-focused self-improvement is what I teach. I hope you found this video helpful. Down in the description, I have a free community for Christians. We have over 4,000 members, so you're welcome to come join. We have a free guide inside on how to quit pornography. I have free Bible studies inside. I'm trying to upload on YouTube every single day, so like this video, subscribe for more. I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.